Welcome to Sports Scope, the most influential sports talk show in the nation.
What is today, the 19th?
Stay tuned for updates and great sports content.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Sports Scope. I'm your host, Robert Butler, on this 8th day of May, right in the middle of the NBA playoffs. A lot of good playoff games here. A lot of good series here. I would say so myself. Very busy day, busy weekend in the wide world of sports. Going to talk about that Bob Huggins comment he made and why I think he may have simply done that on purpose. Also, Devin Booker. You know, his play reminds me a little bit of Dwayne Wade back in 2006. I'll talk about that. Plus, what to think of tonight's game between Golden State and the Lakers. There's a lineup change. Gary Payton will start over Looney. So, yes, Steve Kerr is concerned. He's wanting to double down and go with more of a speed deal there. So I'll talk about that series and more. We'll go ahead and get our first and only break out of the way, and I'll come back in 49 seconds and we'll hit the ground running here on Sports Scope. Hello, Sports Scope followers. The program has seen tremendous growth since going 5 days a week. I just wanted to thank everybody for your cash contributions and sharing the program with friends and families. Just a reminder, if you want to contribute to the program, go to the Cash App, the cash sign, and Sports Scope. There are other ways to contribute to the program listed at the bottom of the screen. If you want to advertise on the program, go to sports, that is sports with an S, another S, scope, SKOPE, at gmail.com, just like it's listed at the bottom of the screen. Thank you and enjoy the program. Alrighty then, I'm back here live now. Okay. So Devin Booker, we've kind of known what Devin Booker is. You know, he's Devin Booker's a guy who scored 70 points one time against the Boston Celtics a few years ago. You know, when I seen that, I've been watching Booker since he got out of college here at University of Kentucky. And, you know, he's one of these guys, when he's really locked in, he was dating one of the Kardashians at one time. Career kind of took a little bit of a dip, got a little bit off the horizon there. And now he is locked in and focused, I tell you. And the way he has been playing, I'm looking at some of his stats here, his shooting efficiency. It's out of this world. You know, I mean, it is up there with the way Dwayne Wade was playing back in 2006 here. Tim McMahon from ESPN put out, he said, nobody's ever scored more than 300 points on 70% true shooting in their first 9 games of the postseason until Devin Booker. Devin Booker is averaging 36.8 points, 61 point. That is super, super elite efficiency. That is some mad efficiency and laser vision focus. Here's some of you historians here. Here's a bite from Shaq talking about back in the 2006 finals when the Miami Heat got down 0-2 to the Dallas Mavericks. Listen to what Shaq said. A conversation between him and Gary Payton then. Very interesting. Listen up.
Me one day and say, hey, man, you ain't got it. I ain't got it. It's time to give it to the young fella, D-Wade. And because I had respect for Gary, we listened, and we were able to win 4 games in a row. That's all we needed, 4 games in a row. Because after that terrible second game, Gary came to the room. I don't even know if he took a shower. Hey, man, I ain't going out like this. I was in, L.A. with you, me, you, and Carl, and you promised me, big dog, you get me a ring. We didn't have a fight, but we had that big brother, little brother argument. We said, you need to let D-Wade do his thing. I'm like, nah, I got it. He's like, nah, we ain't got time for that. So we had that conversation, and we turned the thing over to D-Wade, and, we all agreed, because it was me, him, Posey, Anton. We all agreed that, hey, this young fella show. So those names that I named, they hold a special place in my heart because, if it wasn't for them, I definitely wouldn't have 4. So, love you, Gary. You know how I feel about you, big dog.
Yeah, Gary Payton. That was a 34-year-old Shaquille O'Neal. Ironically, Kevin Durant, 34 years old, talking to a 25, 26-year-old Dwayne Wade. The similarities. So that is probably similar to the conversation after Game 1 of the Clippers game. I think Durant's probably looking at Booker and saying, "We need this out of you, man. We need this out of you. I don't know how my ability is going to be." I'm paraphrasing. We all know that Chris Paul's 37 years old. If you want us to get far in this race and this playoff run, we're going to have to put it on you, okay? Inside, outside, ball to the rim, shooting efficiency. And if I'm Durant, I'm 34. That's how old Shaq was, 34 years back in 06. Remember, Shaq was drafted in 92. So he was 14 years in the league. Yep, he was exactly 34 years old. So that being said, I still like Denver in this series. But the flip side to that particular series is that the Joker, he got his 52. But he's got to look at, Aaron Gordon and, of course, Murray. Now, Murray had 28. And he's going to have to tell these guys, listen, Michael Porter Jr., I know that the media is on us right now. They're praising us. These podcast shows like mine, these web shows like mine, they're praising us. We got the number 1 seed. We're favored. But they're not going to give it to us. We're going to have to take it from them. Remember, this Suns team was humiliated at home in Game 7 last year. What don't kill you make you stronger. Now, Michael Jordan says you got to learn how to lose before you learn how to win. And they got humiliated by Dallas last year in their own backyard when we all thought they was going to win the championship. Remember, they were up 2-0 and blew that lead against Milwaukee. The year before that, Milwaukee wins 4 straight. So this is molded a Devin Booker. Now, my prediction was Denver in 7. I still stick by that because they've got the home court advantage. But you never know how a Jamal Murray may hold up. And, of course, the other side is how long is a Kevin Durant going to show up? So, very good series, as advertised, as I predicted. Didn't think Booker would be this efficient. Thought he'd be efficient because he always is. But I like that with Shaq admitted, hey, look, man, these are young legs. This is a stallion. Let my ego, put the ego aside. Gary Payton put his ego aside. That's what, if I'm Chris Paul and I'm Shaq and that bunch, and Durant and even Ayton, let's just get behind Booker, get him more shots, man, because he's the only way that's going to lead us to the way. But they're still simply going to have to get more free throw shots if they want to win this series. And again, Denver, hey, look, man, they're not going to give it. You got to take it. You got to take it. Also, side note here. Okay, now, this Matt Ishbia, this owner here of the Denver, of the Phoenix Suns. Now, remember, this guy played on the 2000 National Championship Michigan State team. He's a billionaire. He just recently bought this team, and there was an incident where he was holding the basketball and would not give the ball back on a in and out. This was in the crowd. Would not give the ball back to the Joker. Joker shoved him, took the ball out of the way. Joker was not suspended today. I think he fined $25,000. I would simply find that owner, by the way. I don't think he was too far out of line. I think he's excited. He's got too caught up in the moment. But I'd fine him about $500,000 because he is the owner. He should know better. He should know better. I thought about simply thinking, I wonder if we should put up barriers between the crowd and the players. Then I thought to myself, no, that would be too much of a hassle. I would simply read these the fans, and this will say in this ticket stub, it'll say when you get these tickets that if you interfere with the game, if you say over the top offensive language and curse words, you will be removed from the stadium. Any personal thing. So I would just give them the riot act. I don't know if I would do anything as far as the barrier. They could put a barrier there, but if the court, if you got guys running out of loose, I mean, it just looks like that was going to be more trouble there. But this is when you've got the air quote fan experience. This is what you're going to get. This is that's driven by greed. I get it, but the flip side is you're going to have that kind of confrontation. Of course, the owner, he should know better, and I'd fine him big time, at least $500,000. Okay, let me go back to the top of. Let's see. Devin is a man. Carlos says Ayton needs to go. Yeah, Ayton is not fitting in. Remember, I mentioned that Phoenix and Durant meant to. Yeah. Carlos says that about Ayton and everybody. They don't use him correctly. Ayton gets benched. Yeah, Ayton's just not. And here's the thing. Steve Kerr, the hero of the last series, was Kevin Looney, in my opinion. The hero of the Kings series, that's a good transition, was Kevin Looney. All right, 21 rebounds. That doesn't count his inside defense, his tip backs, all that good stuff for Golden State. Now he's not even starting. Gary Payton's going to start tonight. They're going to go super small in LA. And again, I said I thought that would be Lakers in 6. Your Jason McIntyre's and Colin Cowherds are picking Golden State in 6. I'm picking Lakers in 6. Well, Golden State's going to have to win, 3 straight? I don't think they'll do that. I think the Lakers will win tonight. This will be about a 5-point game either way. I don't think they're going to win those 27 points. The Lakers are simply getting the ball to the rim more. I looked this up earlier today. And the truth of the matter is it's still the same. It's still the same as it was earlier. 63 to 33. 63 free throw attempts for the Lakers, 33 for Golden State. They hit 33, shoot 50%, 39 free throws. 39 free throws for Golden State in this series to 63. I mean, that's practically double. And mind you, 2 of these games have been played in Golden State. And that used to be the old adage that you win games in the paint, and if you live by the 3, you die by the 3. That used to be the old adage. Now it's take more threes, even if they're not falling. So, whether Davis stays healthy, who in the heck knows? But eventually, and I'm surprised it hasn't already happened, that it's going to catch up with Golden State playing small all the time and their 3-point shooting. Again, Steve Kerr, I'd give the guy credit. He's got a lot of guys to buy in, to play defensive down low, to play unselfish basketball between Draymond Green, Andrew Wiggins. He's fit in. They moved off Wiseman. Carlos, that's kind of a familiar situation if you look at DeAndre Ayton. They moved off Wiseman. Looney is not the right man, and I don't know why. I guess Anthony Davis is eating them alive. But this lineup, and I don't know how long they're going to stay with this lineup. I don't know how long they'll stay with this lineup with Gary Payton, Steph Curry, Draymond Green, and Klay Thompson. That is super small right there. But we'll see how it plays out. The guy's got 4 rings, but the Lakers, not just with Davis, their role players. LeBron's not getting too many minutes. He's pacing himself right. I just look for this to be a really good matchup for the Lakers tonight. Now, of course, hey, listen, Steph get hot from the three ball. They can win that way. I'm not ready to count anybody out, but they're winning the old-fashioned way. High percentage shots, defense, and running guys off the perimeter and winning with size. And they're one of the few teams that's consistently made so far Golden State pay for not having that lack of size. But hey, we got a good series here. We got a real good series here. Pickle says Booker is playing some good D too. Yeah, he's all in, man. Booker's all in. Ayton can get him 25, but his head's not in the game. So, yeah, I don't know what the deal is there. Maybe it's the pace of play. It's too much for Ayton. He seems to be out of place. But that being said, hey, look, they're tied up. They're going back to Denver. Some have said, if you look deep into the analytics, I was listening to a show saying that the team's playing better without Chris Paul. Well, hey, the guy's 37 years old, He's 37 years old. He's ran out of gas. He's not going to even be back to Game 5. Yeah. And Pickle says, the owner should be fine, make it hurt. Yeah, I totally believe it. I'll throw the book at him and say, you didn't know, now you know, Mr. Matt. Young guy like that, he should know better, man. And Carlos says that the games are annoying. Fans are annoying at games. The tickets are too expensive. The fans are simply, come in there all liquored up and stuff. It's just not worth it to me. I'd rather watch a game on TV. Same in football. By the way, got ahead of myself today. I wanted to hit the ground running because I know games are being played. Wednesday, John Restano is on. He'll be on talking about the Bears. I want to go over the Bears draft with him, the Bills. I'm going to get his opinion on the playoffs. But go back even closer, Rich Ferris returns to the program from Cumulus Radio. Going to ask him tomorrow at 30 minutes past the hour. I don't know what's up with this lighting on this thing. But Rich Ferris will be back on the program tomorrow. And we'll be talking about, I'm trying to get his feel for what does he think about the Titans draft, plus the AFC South. Also, there's a story about Justin Fields is having a really good early count. That's something I'm going to ask John from Spitball and Sports will be on Wednesday, not unless something changes with his schedule. And, of course, tomorrow, Rich Ferris returning back. Rich got a lot of information. Very good guest. Very good guest. Very helpful. I apologize, folks. I'm battling the cold. It's very beautiful here this time of year in Nashville, but the pollen's really high. And my face feels like it weighs about 150 pounds. Just had to take a Benadryl before I came on to the program this evening. So anyways, yeah, so it's a good playoff so far. I think that, there's no great teams this year. I thought Boston was going to run roughshod, and that's a good transition. Boston, there's something else that needs to be talked about in Boston. And, as long as Tatum and Tatum and Brown have played together, there's still a lack of communication between these two guys. But I think it was Jason Mack. I want to give him credit. I want to say this feels like a CJ McCollum, Damian Lillard, except these players have had more success on the court. I want to say Jaylen Brown only took like 3 shots in the fourth quarter. But this team is just him hauling around. You look at that game, and it was a good game, very good game. Watched the majority of that game, actually. Came on 3:30 Eastern on Sunday. And I'm watching this game, and you're looking at a guy like a Joel Embiid. He hangs onto the ball too long. You know he's not 100%. Multiple turnovers, taking bad shots, and Boston simply cannot capitalize on that until the very end of the game. Tatum, he misses 1-3, he takes another one. He misses another one. Worst first half I've ever seen him play. Now, he ended up with 24. I don't know how he got that 24. I don't think he scored a single point. He's 1 for 6 from 3. And they still almost won that game, But when you got the ball, 18 seconds, this is simple math. Now, I've been pounding this coach here, this Joe Mazzulla here from Boston for a while. And my thing about him is you can tell about the little situational basketball that he's bringing up. Okay, I'm okay with what he did by not calling a timeout, getting the ball with 18 seconds and running it down, because you don't want the defense to get set. You don't want to do that. You don't want the defense to get set. But if you're Jason Tatum and you're getting that ball inside like that, just go ahead and take the shot, man. Don't flip it outside when you're down by 1 and take a 3. And why run it all the way down that low anyways? At least give yourself 2 seconds. We know what happened, obviously. Smart takes a 3. He took it too late. They lose. They lose the game. But that is where this era that we're in irritates the crap out of me. I just talked about how the Lakers are winning old school. Pound the ball inside out. Take the 3 when it's available. I'm not saying abandon the 3, but I'm also not saying let's not abandon the mid-range jump shot. We just came up on the anniversary last week of Michael Jordan over Greg Elo. I want to say the Bulls in 89 were at 8th seed, and they beat the Cleveland Cavaliers. Well, was that a 3? No, because they were down by 1, I want to say. And Jordan hits that shot in the middle of the center court there. And of course, we all know what happened. So Tatum seems so reluctant to take the big shot. Now, if Brown's going to take the big shot, Brown said, maybe I should have took. Yeah, you probably should. Because Tatum is scared that even though the talent's there, this is 2 years now. I've seen this where the ball is like a hot potato. I want to say they lost that game 1 the same way. No, you take a shot. No, you take the shot. Look, man, if you're there, I'm going back to the game 1 play where I want to say it was Horford, or now I think it was Tatum or Brogdon. Those 2 guys' favorite when they're in a hurry. I can't see them, what jersey number. But when you're inside within 3 feet, just take the shot, man. Just take the freaking shot. I don't want to sound hypocritical. Yeah, I do like good ball movement. But I think could be too much ball movement where you're simply getting cute. You're overthinking the room here. If you take the higher percentage shot, get the shot, especially if you're Tatum and you went 1 for 6 for 3. But that's the same thing. And part of this, I really don't even want to blame this Joe Mazzulla guy, because it looks like this team is very 3-point dominant. There's just not a consistent flow with them at times where nobody wants to defend the other person. There's just not an alpha in there to take over and say, and maybe that guy's Marcus Smart, but he's not really the talent there. But really, when it comes to scoring, it's between Jaylen Brown and Tatum. Tatum is very hot and cold. Brown he is better on the drive. It don't look as pretty, but he is more efficient on the inside. So, of course, that goes back to coaching. The coach is not speaking up. And, of course, they obviously Corey knows. Corey knows. That was one of the most frustrating games I've ever seen from Boston. It's one thing if you're down by 25, you get your guys in foul trouble, and you've got a guy like Joel Embiid dominating you. I thought Embiid was tired at the end. I thought he was a liability. You know, I like the quick-wittedness of an Al Horford getting that ball loose and making those turnovers. But they just can't do nothing. They're like, here, I'm gonna take no. Look, man, if you got a lane to the basket, just take it and slam it. Okay, let your friend get it next time. Opportunity will present itself. Other words, just let the game freely flow the way it should be, and not sit there and check and see who's got what shots. Just be assertive. Let the game. Sometimes the defense is going to dictate that. Now, that would have been a great shot. That would have been a great play call if you're down by 3 at the very end of the game. But if you're down by 1, why are you taking the 3 in the first place? So that is a lot of overthinking the room, guys. And Pickle says he's in over his head. Yeah, that guy's over his head. Boston game, and it's really sad. I like the defensive. I like the unsung heroes in a lot of these games, guys of Robert Williams and of Al Horford. Now, obviously the team that won, although it was Christmas in May in Philadelphia. I just had the Philadelphia sports guy on, and he is complimenting Doc Rivers because he's coaching circles around this Joe Mazzulla guy, right? You know, he's coaching circles around this guy. But James Harden, if you're in Houston tonight, I got my red Houston maroon color towel. If you're in Houston tonight, you're looking at this 33-year-old James Harden. You're thinking, where was this at when we had you, man? You know, you finally either you gave up on the strip clubs or you're not staying that long in the strip clubs. But where is this guy at 5-6 years ago when we had a young, vibrant team around him? If he played like this a few years ago against that goal, I think they would have won one of them games and they would have beat Golden State. You know, I think if he played like he is now, unselfish, winning is everything, take the shot when needed, James Harden, he attracts a bigger talent. Maybe he doesn't win with Chris Paul because Chris Paul gets injured every year in the playoffs. But maybe he attracts somebody, even a bigger name than a Russell Westbrook. You know, maybe he attracts a trade from an Anthony Davis or somebody like that, of that nature, because he is playing the most headiest basketball IQ-wise of his entire career. You know, kudos to James Harden. But, man, now that your physical peak is gone, he could still give it to you in short clips, Pickles. 33-year-old James Harden there. I still like Boston to win the series, but Boston, you're making your life harder than it has to be. You really are. That hot potato, overthinking it, man, that is frustrating to watch. I tell you. Brown doesn't trust himself on the road. You know something? There's just not a lot of trust anywhere on that team. It's like they like each other, but they're not communicating, and they've been with each other a long time. That's what kills me. That's why I think a lot of this probably is coaching. And maybe you consider sending one of those guys. Maybe you move Tatum. You know, but maybe you consider, if this thing doesn't work out, it really has to be a discussion. You know, Jason McIntyre, I beat him on a lot of his picks. He works with Fox Sports. But he said, you know, this started to seem like a C.J. McCollum, Damian Lillard, well, two guys do the same thing. They're like playing the same role. They get along. They like each other. They get along. But it just seems like they can get more out of this thing, you know? And it is one of the more frustrating things I've ever seen. Just a lack of sense of urgency from a lot of different angles there. Harden playing big boy back. Yeah, he's playing like a grown-up, Pickles. He's playing like a smart guy who's playing well. Let me check on this game. here at the playoffs, it is kind of rough doing 28-29, 29-28 at the end of the first quarter here. Miami and the Knicks, which is a good transition. Now, I'll say this. Quickly's out tonight. It looks like Grimes is going to play. This is where I'll give a guy like a Carlos a little bit of leeway. But let me look and see before I open my mouth here. Derrick Rose and Evan Fournier have not checked into the game and probably won't check into the game. Go figure. And now it's 56-48, almost at halftime. And it looks like Miami's simply the better team. You know, they were only 3 games difference from the Knicks coming into this playoff. Miami just underachieved coming in. You know, they were flat-footed in that play-in game and got beat by Atlanta. Atlanta shot them out. They got the same problem that the Knicks do, except they're a little bit better coached, a little bit better environment, more seasoned. They're more of us. Remember, this team was in the finals a few years ago. It was a bubble year, but still, you're going a few rounds in some serious basketball. This Knicks team, who I thought was deeper, looked better coming on, had home court advantage. Looking at Butler hobbling around, but he's tough as nails. There was reports the other day that his ankle looked like a baseball. And he still comes out and beats the Knicks. But the game that the Knicks won, they struggled to win that. So, you know, if you look at this Knicks team, you could they think that they're playing on house money. They think they're playing on house money. And, you know, I like Thibodeau, but for whatever reason, he will not play going back to last November and last December, I want to say, with Derrick Rose. That he will not play Evan Fournier and Derrick Rose. I don't know if they're not playing the right amount of defense. If ownership is saying play the younger players, play the younger player. But at this point, you're lacking scoring ability. You're going in scoring droughts. If you're doing that, you've got to toy with the lineup. And I don't know if he's being micromanaged, if that's just the way he is or whatnot. But I would definitely play Rose. He's not hurt. I looked it up. He's not hurt. Or Fournier. I didn't see anything for Fournier. And so you're looking at this 8 seed. There's really only 3 games worse than you are. No Tyler Hero. And you're getting guys like Duncan Robertson and they're just coming up and showing up. So I'm thinking maybe Miami wins this thing in 5 or 6 games. And that's a shame. The Knicks are simply going to have to get that consistent score. They're going to have to make some changes. I'd like to see him keep Thibodeau, maybe get an offensive coordinator if I was talking in baseball terms. They're going to have to do that to make the next step here because they're just not getting enough consistency there from the scoring standpoint. And maybe they do move off Randall. You know, maybe he's got to the point in his career now, 12 points. I mean, he's having a pretty decent game tonight. But Barrett, 7 points there, 2 for 5. Quentin Grimes, I mean, they're playing okay, I guess. But it just seems like that they know they're playing on, scored less than 50 points here at halftime, 56-48. They know that they're playing on house money. And there's not enough sense of urgency to win this game or win this series. So, go figure. And then now you got the winner. And that's why if you're Boston, you're toying around with this 76ers team who doesn't have they have their own problems. Tobias Harris, that's the biggest mystery of everybody. Guy's got a lot of money, thought he was going to fit in really well with this crew, and simply has not. If I'm Philly, I try to move on for him. And I want to lean more into Maxey. I like his athletic, his spurt. I know he's not doing great in the stat board. Lean into guys like Maxey. And, of course, Harden, who's got that player option like Jamie Pags said. But he'll be 34 next year. He's long in the tooth. And then, of course, Embiid. I think you could probably try to move Embiid if you could get someone close to him because he's also injured. He's injured every playoffs, by the way. Nobody really mentions that because he finds a way to play some of these games. The truth of the matter is he's another guy. Bigs don't all of a sudden stop. Once they start really getting injured, especially guys with his body frame, they're going to continue to be injured. Yeah, and Pickle says Spoelstra, he's out coaching Spags, right? He's out coaching Thibodeau. Now remember, he coached that LeBron team up to a championship when LeBron wanted to out him. Of course, Pat Riley's got his back. Mr. Loomis got his back. The owner there, Mickey Harris, I think is his name. I can't get his name mixed up with the general manager of the New Orleans Saints. But anyway, that's usually why you have a good winning culture there. I'm surprised that they haven't put together even a better squad down in Miami around Butler. But they're going to have to get that other score. And Pickle says Harden will take the money. I think it's like an $18 million. It's something like that. But Harden knows. Harden knows this is towards the end for him. And it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate because, man, he was a well of a player at 28. But we'll see. A lot of very close series here. 2-2 everywhere, it seems like. So, pretty much as advertised, I thought the Knicks would play a little bit better. I thought Denver would be up 3-1. But hey, Booker, kudos, man. He pulled a Dwayne Wade. Okay, switching gears here. Now, Bob Huggins, this is an interesting story. This broke this afternoon. Bob Huggins is the West Virginia coach, West Virginia basketball. And the guy's 69 years old. And I'm looking at Bob Huggins. He signed a 2-year extension, which this past year, and his contract will run through 2027. Now, remember, he went to West Virginia, Bob Huggins, and he gets on the radio today and says a homophobic slur. And it's one of the oldest slurs ever to say. This is not just, this is the politically correct cancel culture. This slur right here, instead of the G, gay, the F word, okay? And I'm just calling it the other F word, okay? And when I was living in New York, a lot of you don't know me all the way. I went to New York to become an actor back in 2001. And I met up with this one casting director. He was trying to put me, this guy did one movie called Telling Nicholas for HBO. I think his name was like James Ron Nichols or something like that. And, I meet up with him up in this really nice, pool table-like apartment, condo off of a Village Voice ad back in them days. And he was telling me, he said, man, you're really good for this part, but it was too much, nude and stuff. I was like, nah, man, I'm good. And I said, man, that kind of, bleeps like an F word. And he said, don't say that in this industry. He said, I said, what am I supposed to say? He said, use the word, the G word, gay. So that was over 20 years ago. That was politically incorrect then. That 20 years ago. So listen to Bob Huggins to Bob Huggins here on a radio station talking about the Xavier fans. Now that's a crosstown robbery. This was a radio station, WGNS WLW radio show in Cincinnati. Bob Huggins here.
Took a little shot at me.
Hello.
Coach Bob Huggins, you're on the air. I'm sitting here with Steve Muller and the Segman.
Steve Muller. Yeah.
What would make you think I wanted to talk to you?
Hey, Coach. Now, we're telling Huggins stories, but we had a cut at which you she took a little shot at me as not being a trustworthy person. Would you want to revise and extend those remarks?
Absolutely not.
Hey, Hugs, I told him I thought it was misunderstood, taken out of context.
It was out of context.
It's a long bit. Listen up.
I don't know. It must have been my thoughts at the time.
Now, Steve also tells me that you have the best portal transfers. Have you poached any Xavier guys to come to play for West Virginia?
Catholics don't do that.
No, we're above the fracas, aren't we? No problem.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I tell you what, any school that can throw rubber penises on the floor and then say they didn't do it, my God, they can get away with anything.
Rubber penis. Was this
I think that was at the Crosstown Shootout, wasn't
it? It was transgender night, wasn't it?
What?
Was that it?
It was a crosstown shootout. Yeah, no, what it was all those fags, those Catholic fags, I think.
All right.
Now you can hear the nervous laughter from the radio host, like, he didn't cross the line, Pickles. He didn't cross the line. Listen to that again. Those Catholic F words that rhymes with maggot.
Night, wasn't it?
What?
Was that it?
It was a crosstown shootout. Yeah, no, what it was all those fags, those Catholic fags, I think.
Then he doubled down and said it again.
All right.
They were envious they didn't have one.
Envious. I mean, it's actually pretty funny, but I wouldn't have used that terminology there. I said, whoa, Coach, man, you trying to kill me. I got bills to pay. So you say, well, why did you talk about the extension? He knows. This is what I don't know to be fact. I don't know this to be fact, but just call it a hunch. They mentioned the transfer portal. And if you listen closely, that's a little bit of sarcasm there. This team, they got put out early in the tournament last year. They underachieved a year before that. He's sliding. 69-year-old Bob. Now, I'm thinking, just call it a care. Think about the coaches, the old school coaches that have left college football, okay? All right? Or college basketball, excuse me. I digress here. Jay Wright, Villanova, retired, still 60? Roy Williams, Mike Krzyzewski. You had the coach there, Noel Calhoun, a few years ago. But you had the Syracuse coach. He retired. So I don't know if this is coincidence or not. I think that it makes me think about there's an episode of Seinfeld where George tried to get out of this contract and get fired purposely, from George Steinbrenner with the Yankees. But I think he saw this as an opportunity to get canned. So later on, that was earlier at about 1 o'clock. So he puts out this statement, Bob Huggins. Like I said, this is just my own personal theory. I think he wants to retire, but he wants some retirement money. And he must have it in his contract. If I say something off color, y'all still going to pay me. Now, if you want to fire me for, not coaching well, that's fine too. It seems like he wants that extra money and wants to move on. He says, earlier today on the Cincinnati radio program, I was asked about the rivalry between my former employer, the University of Cincinnati, and its crosstown rival, Xavier. During the conversation, I used completely insensitive and abhorrent phrase that there's simply no excuse for, and I won't try to make one here. I deeply apologize to individuals, and I have offended as well as at Xavier University, the University of Cincinnati in West Virginia, as I share with my players over my 40 years coaching. There are consequences for my words and actions, and I will fully accept any coming my way. In other words, if you want to fire me, pay me, and I walk away in the sunset. That's the way I read that. That's the way. You know, there was a guy in cable news got fired about 2 weeks ago, Don Lemon from CNN. And Don Lemon from CNN, long story short, once they went anti-Trump, just got away from everything, and the boss got fired, the guy, I think his name is Jeff Zucker with CNN, once they started losing money and Zucker got fired, the new management wanted to do away with Don Lemon. But, you know, the guy's gay, he's black, whatever. But they didn't want to fire him. They didn't want to fire him. So what they did was, and I've seen this in corporate America too, and my job, my old job, my security job, they moved him to days. They moved Don Lemon to days instead of prime time at night. They demoted him. And then they put him on a panel with 2 women. And once they did that, he made a comment. He made it look like, oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to say it. But he made a comment about Nikki Haley's age, saying 50's not the new prime. And he played dumb. He said, wait, Google it. It's not a woman's prime. Google it. And he knew that women post 40, 50 that were on that set, he knew he offended them. He knew what he was doing. He wanted them to fire him. He got his wish 2 weeks ago, but this was like a month ago. He wanted them to fire him, you know, so he can collect the rest of his contract money and then move on to something else. And, you know, they kept him around, and then he ends up moving on. They fired him anyways a couple of weeks later. But I think Bob Huggins wants to get fired. He knew, I mean, that word, I mean, that is way out there. He knows that. But that's college sports today, particularly college basketball. Again, Jay Wright, Mike Krzyzewski, Roy Williams. Wright's only 60. Remember, Wright won back-to-back national. He won 2 championships in 3 years. And of course, like I said, the guy, I can't remember the old man up there in Syracuse. He just retired. So I think that's what it was. Huggins just said, you know, with the transfer portal, this NIL stuff, you know, and the recruiting is so good in Kentucky right now. But I'm sure Calipari thought about, if this doesn't work out with this next class, they got put out early too. I wouldn't be surprised. He got a lifetime contract down in Kentucky. He wouldn't want to get fired. You said, man, you got some crazy theories. No, Bohan. He was definitely, you know, and Jim Boeheim, thank you, Pickles. Jim Boeheim, he says, if they want me to leave, I'll leave. That's what Jim Boeheim said. In other words, you can fire, just pay me, because I'm tired of dealing with this crap anyway. So that would be a good question for the next college coach that I have on. How do you deal with this? And maybe I'll bring on Al Borges. I've been reading his book is good. I've had him on the program before, that former offense coordinator of Notre Dame. And he said something interesting in that book. He said Denard Robertson, who I thought had a lot of talent in Michigan, folks. He said, man, that dude always fell asleep in the he always fell asleep in the film room. You know, Denard, wake up, man. Wake up. He said, but I thought, man, that guy's talented as all get out. You know, quarterback used to play for Michigan. And I was thinking, I was reading this book over the weekend. I think nowadays, if him and Al Borges, who's also a University of Michigan offensive coordinator, that guy may have ran and transferred. Back then, like 11 years ago, right? Back then, you had to sit out a year to do a transfer. Now you just get in the portal and be gone. You know, you get in that portal and be gone. Now, I'll say this. This leads up to another take here, and I didn't even put it in my title. because I thought I wouldn't have enough time to cover everything. I think that the portal is so good for some coaches to go from zero to hero that I think the strategy that Deion Sanders is doing, Pickles, out there in Colorado, and it annoys the heck out of these other coaches in basketball and football, that Deion, he's trying to be one and done. I don't think he likes Denver. I can kind of tell, or Boulder or whatever. He don't like Boulder. That team was 1-11, and they are transferring players. He said it's 40%. It feels like 80% of transfers that they're bringing in there. He's pushing really hard to get those transfers in there. I think he's going to be one and done. He's going to turn this into a 9-win team, and soon as one of those big ACC or particularly SEC jobs come open, I don't know what could. Maybe Ole Miss could come open, something of that nature. Soon as one of those jobs come open, I can see him being one and done. Pull it very Bobby Petrino. It doesn't look good for Deion to do that. I think he should stay at least 3-4 years. Try to wait out a class. I know coaches do it all the time. Don't get me wrong. Saban did it in the NFL, but stay through one class there. But I got a feeling he's trying to be one and done. But again, that transfer, that is really, really trying to annoy Nick. So that would be a question to bring Al back on, Pickles, is how do you deal with this tidal wave of players who want to come out and you have to play the transfer portal game to get players in. I say USC got like a defensive tackle the other day. Drake May. I was reading, we got the NFL coming up. The NFL draft for next year is supposed to be a much higher graded quarterback draft. Drake May was offered millions, the quarterback for Carolina, to transfer from Carolina to the SEC. And technically that's tampering, but he's from this area. He stayed there. But Huggins, yeah. And Pickles says that statement sounded like, something out of a PR firm, that it sounded like something out of a PR firm. And it probably was. I bet he's thinking, well, whatever you want to do. But he says, whatever consequences you want to do, just do it. Like George Costanza, I'm just driving around in the parking lot. So Costanza on Seinfeld, Pickles, he takes that championship trophy from the 96 Yankees and he puts it on a car and he's driving around in the parking lot and the thing is scraping the ground, hoping that George Steinbrenner will fire him so he can get the rest of his contract and not have to work there anymore. I just thought it was funny. I think Huggins is shooting for it. The reason why I'm saying all this is one Fox reporter says Bob Huggins' career's over with. And I was thinking, career's over with? What happened? I thought maybe he had a health scare or something. For him to say something like that, that's unbelievable. Pickle says the public relations drafted that. So anyways, folks, tomorrow, I'll bring in, like I said, Rich Ferris will be back here tomorrow. Rich works with Cumulus. Now, Cumulus and 104.5 Zone, they cover the Titans. He has somewhat of inside access, okay? They're the flagship. They're the team that covers the games. He's met some of the players. I'm sure he's met some of the coaches. I know he's met Mike Keefe, who's called these games since the Titans have been here in Nashville. So he's got some insight. He'll be back on the program tomorrow, and I want to get his take on this AFC South out now that the draft has came through. He'll be on 30 minutes past the hour, and we're going to talk about that and break that down. And John Bristano, Jonathan out there. He'll be on the program Wednesday, I want to say, 30 minutes past the hour. Yeah. And I'm going to ask him. There's a story out of Chicago that Fields is light years ahead of where he was this time last year. That Justin Fields, I thought about this. I thought, something. I would think if you get the kind of players that they brought in, if that don't motivate a quarterback to get in there and work, especially if you get a DJ Moore like that, and they went out and signed some new running back. I mean, they've got Darrell Wright at left tackle, guy out of Tennessee at left tackle there. They've made a lot of trades. They've got some help on defense. So Fields has got it. He's going to be able to get the ball back more. He's going to have more time to throw, and he's going to have more open targets. So the ball's in his court to be successful. And I'm going to ask John, what does he think about that draft? Is he as high on it as I am? I was pretty high on it, pretty high on their draft. And, of course, he's out in Niagara Falls. Going to ask him about Buffalo as well, get his take on Kincaid there and the Bills draft and see if it really is just McDermott. So that's on Wednesday. And I may try to get another guest on Thursday, Kareem, another guy. I'll see what he thought about the Titans as well. But Kareem ain't got back to me. I know he's busy. But either way, great show tonight. I'm going to get off here, watch the rest of this game. It looks like it's going to be Miami's series, but who knows? Who knows? It looks like it's going to be their series. But, again, the Knicks seem to be playing on house money. I like the Lakers tonight. Close game within 5 to go up 3-1. But, hey, when you're fighting a champion, Rudy Tomjanovich says you can never underestimate the heart of a champion. Remember that, folks. So I'll be back here tomorrow, same time, same place, here on Sports Scope. Thanks, guys.